Hey, welcome everyone. If you are watching this video, that means that you are ready to unlock the DNA code. And you're looking at this because the learning module said that this video was required to watch. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through what seems like a very long packet and show you how really straightforward it is. And with a little work, you'll learn all the tricks there are to unlocking the DNA code and generate a little curiosity about this whole process of how DNA gets converted to RNA, gets made into proteins. So I'm going to pull up the packet over here on my iPad. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly here, share my screen, start that broadcast. I need to get my tool here. All right. So here we are. I have this already downloaded in Notability, and you should do that with your packet as well. So I'm going to find it right here, and it's called Unlocking the DNA Code. This is version 2.0. Really, nothing has changed since the first version here, other than I'm trying to make it a little easier to follow. So what are the steps you need to do here? Well, right now you're on step one. You're watching this video, and this step is absolutely required. That's because I'm going to answer so many of your questions here that you won't need to find your teacher. You won't need to find me if I happen to be your teacher to ask these questions, because it's going to be explained so thoroughly here. You probably have this document originally from Google Docs. Maybe you got it as a PDF somewhere, but either way, you want to put this document into Notability. You're going to complete these video guides as I'll go through in order, and you're going to complete this formative project as instructed in this document. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. You'll take a DNA practice test, which is based off of this formative project. In fact, it's nearly identical. And then you'll take another DNA final test. So you've had two chances to practice, and you'll take this, and then you'll get this final test. So these video guides that I'm going to go through, so I should say that this formative project in the test, you could probably learn how to do that without understanding the deep biology behind the processes that you're doing on the test. But I really see this as two parts. One, generating curiosity of how you can recognize the code of DNA, how you can figure out how DNA becomes the particular amino acid, these pieces of protein, and how you can use that DNA code to figure out what human gene this piece of DNA is actually a part of. And that's part one. And then the other part is I want to understand more deeply about how DNA is connected, where it is, how it gets transformed into RNA, and a little bit more insight of the biology of this whole process, not just the engineering concept of that formative project. So I really see this as two parts, and I'm going to go through this right here. So after you've done these steps here, you're going to start moving on to these video guides. And what you have here is a video, and it's actually linked twice. It's the same video there. And you have these guides, and you answer these questions as you move through the video. And these questions come up in order, almost identical wording as in the video. And this is just to help you refine your thinking and help you concentrate in these videos. And I'm picking out pieces of the video that I think are important, and I want you to pause, write it down, and help you remember these pieces of the biology. So you'll move through these videos. The videos are actually pretty short. I think each video will take you 10 or 15 minutes, maybe a little longer because you have to pause and write, but not too long. Just a quick note that this particular video guide is sort of challenging, so just do your best on that one. So you're doing this document, you're watching these videos, you're filling out along the way, you're learning a little bit about DNA in general to begin with. Here, you're learning a little bit about the structure of DNA, the four molecules that make up the code of DNA, A, T, C, and G. how those structures pair together, a little bit more about the language around them. So you're learning all of that here. You're learning that structure a little bit more deeply in this next video. And then after you've made it through these videos, you have a understanding, the basic understanding of the structure of DNA. And now you get a chance to start doing part 1 of this formative project. So it says here now on page 12, you now have the skills to recognize the structures of DNA nucleotides. And now you're going to do part 1 of this formative project, which is part 1 of the test. There are 5 parts to the test. This is part 1. And after you do part 1, it says return to page 12 to learn a little bit more about RNA. And in fact, that's actually page 13 right here, but I will change that when we get there. So you're going to click here and it's going to take you to part 1 of this formative project. And that's this part right here. And if you scroll up just a little bit, here is a summary of that formative project with the 5 parts of the project. And this video right here tells you exactly how to do the first 4 parts. Your sequence is slightly different, but it tells you almost exactly how to do that. So that's a great video to watch once you get to this stage. And what you're going to do is you're going to fill out this top line of DNA code from these images right here. This is nucleotide structure HS3. That's for Homo sapiens number 3. And you're going to go one by one through these slides, and you need to recognize the nucleotide that's in the center of this box. This happens to be A, because I know that it has these 2 rings and 2 magnetic bonds. And you'll learn later that A pairs with T. And so this is number 1 right here. So I would go back up and I would say right here, that is A. Go back down to number 2. Number 2, a single ring structure with 2 kind of hydrogen bonds there. That is T. So I would go back up here and I would write in T. In this video here, I show you how you can split your screen and do this a little bit faster. All right, so once you've put in all this code, you automatically know what these pair to down here. I know that A pairs with T, T pairs with A. And at this stage, you might not know that, but that's what those first video guides are going to help you figure out. So then once we've done part 1, we scroll back up to page 13. And so we return here, and now we do these video guides to learn about RNA. So we scroll through here. We learn about the differences between DNA and RNA. We learn how RNA has a U while DNA has a T. We learn about how RNA is transcribed from DNA. We learn about the relationship, the similarities and the differences between RNA and DNA. We learn about the different types of RNA. And we finally learn about what the purpose of the different types of RNA are. We learn how to transcribe DNA. To DNA, we already know how to do that. Then we learn how to transcribe DNA into mRNA. We practice that a few times here with some videos. And at this point, you are ready to go to Formative Project Part 2. So you click that little bookmark. It takes you down here. And now you have the tools to learn to transcribe this bit of DNA into RNA. Again, this video right here shows you exactly how to do that part. And so once you've done part 2, once you have all this complete, and remember, this is based off of that complementary strand of DNA. Sorry, you don't know that, but you will learn that along the way. That's part 2 out of the 5 parts that are on the test. Once you've done that, you go back on up and move through the video guides in order again. So you've completed part 2 and you return now to page 26 and you learn a little bit about how RNA is translated into proteins. So you go through these video guides, you learn a little bit about the code of RNA, how RNA code makes codes for certain amino acids. You learn about that. You learn how to do this practically, the little bit of practice. There's a little fun practice right here. And at that stage now, you're ready to move on to formative project part 3. So you go down to part 3, and now your 3 letters of mRNA, each code for a specific amino acid. You've learned how to do this along the way. You do this part. Once you've completed that part 3, you're ready to move back up the document and learn about mutations. So once you've completed part 3, you're now ready to learn about mutations. So here you go, and you watch these videos, complete this worksheet as best as you can to learn about the purpose of mutations and how they occur and how they can affect the protein sequence. You get a little bit more practical practice, very similar to what we get on the test. And again, there's video guides that walk you through those steps. You learn a little bit more practice. And at this point now, you're ready for part number 4. So again, you click to part 4. You've gotten a specific mutation sequence at position 3, right here of your original DNA. It says it was G, but now it is A. And you have to, now this was C, it's not C anymore. This is T. That makes this one right here A. And you have to see how that impacts that particular amino acid. And you put the new amino acid code right here. If that mutation had an effect. You can see right here in this how-to video starting at 10:21, I show you how to do that process. So that's part 4 out of 5. That's 4 out of 5 parts complete. And after that part, you are ready for the final piece of this formative project, which is just like the test. And you return, and now you're ready to learn about the BLAST search tool. And here we go. This is how practice finding bits of DNA sequence and determining what human gene they are a part of. So there is a step-by-step written tutorial and a video tutorial I made a little while back. Note at 2:12 of the video, the BLAST tool has changed a little bit. And now you select this genomic plus transcript database button. So note that this difference is slightly different than the video tutorial. The written tutorial has been updated to reflect that change. So you practice using this BLAST tool And sometimes it takes a little bit of time. So you have to be a little patient with that tool. It's much, much faster than it used to be 20 years ago. But it does take a couple minutes sometimes. So you practice using this with this video tutorial as your guide. And after that, you are ready for part 5 of the formative project. And after that, you're ready to take your DNA code practice test. And so here's part 5. You're looking for the name of the gene would go here, and what chromosome it's on goes right there. And that's all 5 parts of this this whole unlocking the DNA code formative project and the test. And that should be get you started on this guide. And there's videos along the way to help. And I think you'll be really successful with this, having watched this video. Good luck, and we'll see you soon.